Australia's E-7A Wedgetail has become one of the most unexpected strategic success stories in modern military aviation. What began as a national effort to tailor an airborne early warning and control aircraft to the unique operational conditions of the Indo-Pacific has, 2 decades later, reshaped alliance dynamics and prompted the United States Air Force to adopt an Australian-developed capability for the first time in its history. This reversal is more than symbolic. It highlights the accelerating pace of technological change, the mounting demands of contested airspaces, and the strategic pressure shaped by China's expanding military presence across the region. When Australia launched its airborne early warning and control program in the late 1990s, the global benchmark for such missions remained the American E-3 Sentry, an iconic platform built on a Boeing 707 airframe and equipped with a mechanically rotating radar dome. But while the E-3 performed well in European airspace and Cold War-era operational scenarios, Australia confronted a very different set of challenges. The country needed an aircraft capable of covering immense distances, operating from dispersed bases and, above all, navigating an increasingly complex electromagnetic environment shaped by dense maritime traffic and rapidly advancing adversary jamming systems. The answer was the E-7A, a heavily modified Boeing 737 equipped with an electronically scanned multi-role radar capable of providing instantaneous 360-degree coverage without the constraints of a rotating antenna. By the mid-2010s, the Wedgetail was not merely fielded, it had been tested in real operations across the Middle East and the Indo-Pacific, providing Australian crews with hard-earned experience under increasingly demanding conditions. This period coincided with a dramatic rise in the capabilities of China's air and naval forces, forcing the Royal Australian Air Force to treat the E-7A not just as an airborne sensor, but as a strategic command node capable of coordinating distributed forces over vast maritime theaters. Its evolution occurred in parallel with the United States' growing concerns over the aging E-3 fleet. The American platform suffered declining availability rates as the 707 airframes aged, and its legacy radar struggled against sophisticated electronic warfare environments. Maintenance costs surged, spare parts became scarce, and the platform's survivability in a high-end Indo-Pacific conflict, especially one involving long-range missiles, stealth aircraft and advanced jamming, became increasingly untenable. Thus, when Washington reviewed replacement options for the E-3, the conclusion was inevitable: Australia had already built what the United States now urgently needed. Instead of spending a decade developing a new design from scratch, the U.S. Air Force chose to buy the E-7A, with an initial batch of 2 aircraft and long-term plans for more than 20. While the cost reaches into the billions of dollars, the key advantage is time. By adopting a proven Australian system already validated in operational theaters, the US avoids years of prototyping and enters the next decade with a platform capable of surviving the most contested environments. In an era of rising tensions around Taiwan and the South China Sea, accelerating capability development by even a few years can have profound strategic implications. The technical reasons for America's shift are equally important. The Wedgetail's electronically scanned radar can instantly switch modes, track hundreds of airborne, maritime and ground targets simultaneously, and focus on priority sectors at the speed of electronic steering, capabilities impossible for rotating dome legacy systems. Operating on a Boeing 737 platform also reduces logistical burdens, lowers operational costs, and allows far more flexibility in dispersing aircraft across smaller or austere airfields. The system integrates smoothly with American data links, enabling joint operations that many older European platforms cannot match. In the Indo-Pacific, a region defined by long distances, complex threat axes and distributed operations, these advantages make the E-7A especially compatible with America's evolving operational concepts. There is also a deeper operational logic behind the U.S. decision. American planners increasingly view the Indo-Pacific as a theater where resilient command and control will determine victory or defeat. With China investing heavily in long-range air defenses, anti-satellite weapons and advanced jamming, airborne command platforms must be flexible, survivable and capable of managing a massive sensor workload. The Wedgetail emerged under precisely these conditions. The Royal Australian Air Force refined its use during years of operations in the Middle East and then adapted its tactics for the Pacific, overseeing maritime strike coordination, wide-area surveillance and integrated air defense missions. U.S. crews training alongside Australians in exercises such as Cope North and Pacific Edge now inherit this operational experience, gaining insights that would have taken years to accumulate independently. For Australia, America's adoption of the Wedgetail represents more than an industrial milestone. It signals recognition of Australia's growing technological and defense industrial competence. The program sustains domestic jobs, long-term partnerships with Boeing Defence Australia, and a roadmap for future upgrades, including enhanced radar architectures and advanced sensor fusion powered by artificial intelligence. It positions Australia as a core contributor within the emerging Five Eyes sensor integration ecosystem, where data flows from aircraft, satellites, and naval platforms converge into integrated networks. As the United States expands its military presence in northern Australia, the ability for American and Australian E-7s to rotate through shared bases strengthens both nations' crisis response capacity and enhances regional deterrence. The Wedgetail's impact extends beyond bilateral defense ties. As China builds long-range airborne early warning aircraft and expands its radar network across the South China Sea, the U.S. Australian model emphasizes agility rather than fixed infrastructure, deployable airborne command centers that can reorganize complex operations across enormous distances. A distributed fleet of American, Australian and potentially British E-7s creates a coverage pattern far harder for China to disrupt. Their civilian-derived airframes also allow them to operate from a wider range of regional airports, complicating adversary targeting and enhancing operational unpredictability. This shift reflects a broader global trend. The United Kingdom has already selected the E-7, and additional Indo-Pacific partners are evaluating the design. The platform embodies a transition away from Cold War-era systems and toward modular, electronically managed sensors optimized for multi-domain operations. Australia's early investment positioned it at the forefront of this shift, and the U.S. decision reinforces that judgment. Future enhancements, particularly those linked to U.S. Navy sensor fusion initiatives, will likely deepen the influence both countries have on the next generation of airborne command systems. Ultimately, the Wedgetail story encapsulates the changing balance of expertise within the U.S. Australia alliance. Canberra still depends heavily on American submarines, stealth aircraft and missile technology, but the relationship is becoming more reciprocal. The E-7A demonstrates that Australia can produce innovations compelling enough for even the world's most powerful air force to adopt. For other Indo-Pacific nations, this reinforces the perception that Australia is not merely a forward outpost for the United States, but an emerging architect of allied air power. As the Indo-Pacific continues to reshape global security dynamics, the Wedgetail's success offers a clear example of how complementary national strengths can build stronger, and more resilient, alliances.